Vault Veritas SCP Files. Episode 45 Dissolution. Well, okay, and I suppose I just keep reading, then. Like nothing odd happened, and Niall didn't just do whatever the heck that was. Great. Incident 2046-7. Seventh known incident report related to SCP-2046, colloquially known as Mendeleev's Nightmare. Object Class: Euclid. Risk Assessment Level: Moderate. Reported by D50553, also known as Glenn Woolidge. Report made April 27th, 2017. This was my first interaction with Mendeleev's Nightmare, and my heart is achingly heavy with the knowledge that it will be my last. Are you familiar with Dmitry Mendeleev? He was a Russian chemist in the mid-19th century, credited with creating the periodic table of elements. As our understanding of the natural world grew, Mendeleev uncovered patterns and trends between elements, trends we now know as the periodic laws. He didn't just organize what we already knew either. He predicted elements that hadn't even been discovered yet. I realize that this might be an odd way to start an incident report. I know these are meant to be formal and factual. It's just, chemistry has always fascinated me. It's the study of what is. The natural laws that shape our reality, the pieces that make up everything around us. If you truly want to understand existence, to grasp the truth of our reality, this is where you'd begin. That's all I really wanted. To understand better. I told myself that over and over again, as I tucked the chemical containers from my university lab into my backpack to take home. I mean, it's not like I was trying to hurt anyone, and it didn't feel like breaking the law. The chemicals were right there for me to use. Why not use them at home? I just had this idea. If I could find a way to create an alternative power source, something cleaner, more efficient. I didn't even really know where to start, but I figure the more I could experiment, spending night after night hunched over my makeshift lab in my apartment, tweaking formulas, testing reactions, hunting that spark of inspiration and discovery. But, of course, for all the beauty of chemistry, it really has no tolerance for mistakes. One simple error, one moment of carelessness, and all my passion turned to fiery destruction. Watching the flames of my failure engulf my apartment building, bit by bit, as I huddled outside with my neighbors in our pajamas. Honestly, I'm a little surprised the Foundation just let me keep experimenting. Mendeleev's nightmare was perfect for that rush of new discovery and the agonizingly hopeful terror that comes with it. SCP-2046 is a poster of the periodic table. At first glance, it looks just like your standard high school lab lie. But it isn't like that at all. 2046 is the truth. It shows us the reality of all the elements the rest of the world has no knowledge of. Every so often, after a period where no eyes are on it, the chart changes, revealing a new element, one we never knew about before. These new elements appear quite often to defy all known laws of chemistry and physics. They have unpredictable properties, sometimes benign, sometimes mundane, sometimes lethal. And the table insists on enforcing its truth, changing the physical world around it, transmuting the very atoms of the air and matter of its containment room. It's not just a poster. SCP-2046 is an opportunity, a window into something beyond the reach of normal science. Something that might unravel everything we thought we knew, that might change how we interact with reality itself. The containment protocols they've set up are impressive, intimidating even. The table is affixed securely to the wall of a sealed, airtight cell with an airlock and radiation shielding. They say it's containing a deadly anomaly, but in reality, it's about restricting the truth of our world, limiting access to dangerous elements that would alter our understanding of reality. It can't shape air if there's no air to shape. But what if we let it breathe? What if we let it reach beyond the wall, if only just a little? That's where the true potential lies, in that spark of new creation, of discovery. The containment is a lie. It's not really meant to stop it. It's meant to hold us back. The Foundation knew this. Although the containment procedures worked so perfectly, someone way, way up there, someone running this whole show, knew the potential of the truth Mendeleev's nightmare holds. After years of containment, a new order came through. The experiments were to be reopened, the object removed from its containment and left to develop, to tinker with the truth of these extra elements as they appeared. The orders were clear: experiment, document, and immediately report anything that might be useful in further containing other anomalies. I knew as I first scanned the expanded periodic table, took in the truth of our world that had always been so hidden to me. I knew that this is what I was always meant to do. The fire no longer seemed like this black scar on my record. It was just a stepping stone to my real potential. The first new element manifested after only 14 hours. It appeared as a solid, dusty gray, non-ferrous metal, dense and heavy to the touch. It didn't take us long to find that 2046 had designated it with the perfect name, Thermium-322. The blistering truth of it was undeniable, you see. Once heated, the metal simply refused to cool. As part of the initial tests, I had carefully placed a portion of it into a controlled heating chamber and watched as it absorbed the warmth and heat. I kept waiting for it to melt, to sublimate, but it never did. Even when it was red and glowing, it stayed in one shape. And when I had turned the chamber off, the glow never ebbed, the heat never dissipated. It just remained as intensely hot as ever, as though locking away every bit of the energy it absorbed. I remember my assistant moving to touch it. She wore padded and insulated gloves, and the metal had been cooling for 10 hours, so surely it was safe. With no more than a brush of her padded, gloved fingertips, she was screaming. As she pulled her hands back towards her body, I could see the fabric of the mitten had melted, fusing it to her skin below. As she peeled the glove off to inspect the damage, turning it inside out, I could momentarily hear a wet tearing as the fused skin sloughed off with it, drowned quickly by the sound of her screams. I wanted to investigate further. I had all these ideas for how thermium could be used. Maybe to encase ice-based anomalies, for example. But then the orders came through. Scrap the testing and destroy the element. It wasn't deemed useful for whatever specific needs the Foundation had in mind. So, we were just supposed to get rid of it. It's wrong. That's not how science works. You can't just cover everything up because it doesn't fit into your perfect little box. Not when you're staring at the truth, right there in front of you. And so, the testing continued. The next element was extraordinarily beautiful. My new assistant, Raymond, and I walked into the testing chamber the very next morning after the thermium incident, and I found the air full of a shimmering gaseous aurora. The gas was spreading lazily throughout the room, swirling and mixing with the air as it diffused. Having seen the destructive potential of thermium, I knew better than to interact with it myself. My new assistant, however, he was completely oblivious. The very first breath he took in the room, inhaling the element we've since called delirium, he cried out in amazement and joy. He described a synesthetic experience, claiming to hear the most wondrous music, each color of the swirling gas playing a different melody in his brain. I was hastily scribbling down his nonsensical babblings from the safety of the observation room next door, seated beside the head researcher, who seemed more than a little amused by how effectively I was handling the testing on my own, how I had kept myself safe and distant. It only took 3 more breaths for the hallucinations to take a darker turn. Raymond's rambling changed. He started speaking about seeing the fabric of reality itself closing in around him, the crushing weight of insignificance in a world that's constantly shifting, evolving, and pushing forward. At first, we thought it was just a bad trip, a momentary breakdown. But then, when he collapsed to his knees, clutching his chest, and hyperventilating so hard, I swear he inhaled 5 times as much delirium as before, the researcher and I donned our gas masks and rushed in to pull the idiot out of there. Once again, I had this idea. If we could harness the gas, perhaps we could use it to explore and better understand the mimetic effects of other anomalies. Maybe it could even be medicinal. A few breaths might offer a calming experience, something to placate and control the other D-classes, and give them a sense of complacency in the stressful daily grind at the Foundation. But, once again, before I could express any of these ideas, the orders came through, just as they had before. Get rid of it. It wasn't what the Foundation was after. And so, once again, I found myself staring down a new element. Once again, it seemed extraordinarily promising. This time, a purplish, soft metal with an illustrious shine awaited me. We hadn't had time to replace Raymond yet. His mind was too far gone to continue assisting us. But it was decided I was knowledgeable enough to tackle it alone. The moment I stepped into the room, I felt it. A subtle pull, coming from where the purple metal sat on the floor in front of the poster. As I raised my hand, I watched the hairs on my skin bend towards it. And then, before I could even react, the pencil I had kept tucked into my shirt pocket tore through the fabric and lodged itself deep into the soft metal. A gravitational field. And thus, Socratium 404 was discovered. This time, we didn't get a cease message. Instead, the Foundation asked us to keep them well updated on future testing. It seemed we had found something truly useful. But as I began testing it, discovering that the more concentrated the element was, the larger the gravitational field became, I realized that these discoveries might only be temporary too. The Foundation would use the knowledge for their own secretive purposes, then erase any loose threads, cover it all up. Once the higher officers had what they were after, they would reseal SCP-2046, terminate me, and continue pretending these elements never existed. The truth would be lost forever. As I continued testing, and the quantity of Socratium grew inside the chamber, a horrifying realization took hold of me. I was the only one who could stop the butchering of the truth. After all, what did I have left to lose? I had been told that no amount of amnestic treatment would fully erase the knowledge SCP-2046 had gifted me, the truth of our reality. The only option was to fight back, to use the power of the knowledge I had been given to escape. If I could take this element with me, show the world what I had discovered, everything I had been through would have meant something. The fire, the tinkering, the lost assistance. It would all have been justified. I had a better understanding of Socratium's properties than anyone else. I knew exactly what it could do, and how useful and destructive it could truly be. Under the guise of a new test, I began gathering it on one side of the chamber using a remote-controlled robot, its powerful motor allowing it to escape the increasingly intense gravity wells. As the concentration grew, the walls began to shift and buckle. A cry rang out from the other side of the observation glass as the researcher finally realized what I was doing, but by then, it was too late. The collapse of the containment wall was glorious. Just like that, I knew that no walls, no containment could hold me and Mendeleev's nightmare. The researcher came darting out of his door, eyes wide with outrage. He carefully stepped around the perimeter of the room to confront me. I knew I had to act fast. I moved from my corner, walking towards the side of the room he was approaching from. I tensed myself as though I expected a physical confrontation. I'm no small guy, and it was enough to make him hesitate, even take a step back. Angling myself just right, I advanced, driving him backwards, sideways, until he found himself wedged between me and the growing mass of Socratium. He was babbling the whole time, that obnoxious, squeaky voice demanding compliance, as though he understood what was happening better than I did. I simply smiled, pulling a pen from my pocket and raising it to eye level. He still didn't understand. Poor idiot. The pull from the Socratium was strong. I could feel the pen fighting my grip, just as it had pulled at my reinforced pockets. And then I let it go. The pen whipped through the air as the gravitational field pulled it, accelerating it faster and faster. I had placed it perfectly, and the squish as the nib of the pen pierced his eye was music to my ears. All his arrogant smugness gone. I continued my work, moving the Socratium, even as the alarms blared around me. You and your security cameras. I have to admit, your scrutiny is unfortunately diligent. I almost made it. I had 3 walls down before your officers showed up. That last one, the final barrier between me and freedom. Ah, well. I knew it was a risk going in. I gave it my best shot, just like I did in my apartment before the fire. That's the thing about scientific progress. You fail and fail and fail, always chasing that one glorious moment of success, the moment you discover something new, something impactful. If I'm to be ended here, at least my legacy remains. What did you do with the Socratium? I find it hard to believe you destroyed it. Clearly, the Foundation saw something in it, some potential. The temptation to wield the power that is the truth is an ever-present danger when anomalies like Socratium are involved. What the Foundation failed to grasp is that knowledge, true, beautiful knowledge, isn't something that can be controlled or contained. It blasts out. It escapes, no matter how tightly you try to bind it. The elements created by SCP-2046 aren't just discoveries, they are revelations. But the Foundation, in its endless pursuit of control, would rather bury these truths, erase them from existence, and continue the illusion that everything can be contained. In doing so, you ignore the very core of what science is supposed to be about: discovery and growth. The Foundation seeks to create a world in which information is so stifled, so filtered, that nothing can truly be fully understood. You will continue to erase, to rewrite, to bury the truth. But it is only a matter of time before something else slips through your narrow-minded fingers, and your carefully constructed reality implodes before your eyes. Unsurprisingly, our database indicates that Glenn, D50553, was terminated immediately after completing his report. Strangely, there's very little information about what happened to the Socratium. The only trace of it here is its name. Nothing about its destruction, or whether it was used for any further purpose. It seems Glenn wasn't entirely wrong about the erasure of SCP-2046's elements from Foundation history. Though I doubt it was for the reasons he theorized. The database does mention that SCP-2046 possesses a unique mimetic effect. It's not a genuine periodic table of elements, but a reality-warping anomaly. Left unsupervised, it generates random anomalous elements with impossible properties. These elements defy the laws of physics, and any competent scientist would recognize that immediately. But the mimetic effect forces the subject to believe in the table's validity, convincing them that all other periodic tables are flawed or intentionally misleading. That explains Glenn's descent into paranoia. What's more, the effect resists amnestics in individuals with substantial chemistry knowledge. In the end, it seems the test was doomed from the start. Expose a scientist to an anomaly that twists their perception of truth, fuels a belief in a vast conspiracy, and then give them access to elements with unpredictable properties. No wonder it was sealed away so tightly. I can't help but wonder why whoever was running this experiment pushed for further testing. What could be worth that level of risk? Well, regardless, it seems they recognized their mistake. SCP-2046 has been recontained, and further testing has been prohibited. But I can't shake the feeling that it's not just the dangers they feared. Maybe they already got everything they wanted from it.
Vault Veritas SCP Files is a podcast inspired by the SCP Foundation. Dissolution contains SCP-2046 by King Golem from the SCP Wiki located at scp-wiki.com/SCP-2046. It is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Share-alike 3.0 unported license. This episode featured Justin Gellner as Scott Anderson. It was written and edited by Leola Angel. We welcome comments. Please rate and review us. Email us at vaultveritas@gmail.com. Join our Discord channel using the link in the episode description. Visit us at Blue Sky. Or for additional content, visit our Patreon. Thanks for listening.